And then we'll proceed. And the first item of business is the election of chair. We do have Director or Commissioner Kerr joining us online. Good morning. So any nominations for a position of chair for 2024?
I nominate Commissioner Sinnott.
Commissioner Sinnott, you've been nominated. Would you accept that nomination?
I would.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations for position of chair? For the third and last time? Hearing none, we'll declare Director Sinnott elected as chair for 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now election for vice chair. Do we hear any nominations?
I would nominate Director Rice.
Director Rice, you've been nominated. Would you accept that?
I would, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any further nominations for vice chair? Hearing none and seeing none on screen, we will declare Director Rice elected as vice chair for 2024. Thank you so much. And Director Sinnott, we'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you very much. Welcome everyone to the inaugural meeting of the Strathcona Gardens Commission for 2024. And I'd like to acknowledge that we are located on the traditional territory of the Liquiteau people. Could I get a motion that we adopt the agenda for January 2024 as presented?
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. There are no petitions or delegations. Adoptions of minutes. So we have a regular meeting and a special meeting. So could I have a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Strathcona Gardens Commission held November 8th, 2023 be received?
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And a motion that the minutes of the special meeting of the Strathcona Gardens Commission held on December 13th, 2023 be received.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Do we have any business arising from these minutes? Well, I don't have a report from the chair. So now we're into the staff reports. Number one, do we want to do a staff report? Are we going to do anything on this? It's a pretty short item. Oh, we've got a presentation? Just need a motion that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Move receipt.
Second.
Any discussion? Is there a presentation now? Want to finish the vote?
Call question.
Yes. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you through the CAO to the chair and the commissioners. We've put together a 2023 KPI report just to outline some of the activities at the gardens and then just some stats that we compare to previous years just to measure the health of how we're operating Strathcona Gardens. Just some 2023 highlights. We feel it's a very successful year as far as engaging the community from the North Island Outdoor Adventure Show to the Home Show, Pickleball Tournament, multiple swim and skate events on specific holidays, and then sponsored events through the Christmas break in December. And then in a New Year's event, we had, again, over 1,500 people attend. And then throughout the year, we've had 280 certification courses, over 2,600 swim lessons were provided, 3,700 fitness programs, 1,300 skate lessons.
We continue with our partnership with the Campbell River Killer Whales and Campbell River Salmon King swim clubs. 2023 proved to be an interesting year in that both clubs have grown throughout the pandemic and during our lifeguard shortage as they provided the community with the Learn to Swim and Swim Club programs. And then with pretty much unrestricted access during those years. In 2023, we started to scale back their access, but we wanted to continue to support those clubs in their existing numbers and continue to grow. And we've moved to a shared use model now where the swim clubs use approximately 6% of our prime operating hours, and the remainder is completed by Strathcona Garden staff.
Through the holiday break, typically that's some of the busiest days that we see at Strathcona Gardens, and this year it was no exception. As Robin said, we hosted a number of sponsored free swim and skates through the holidays. Along with that, we had 921 visits attending our drop-in programming. We generated around $6,000 in revenue from our Christmas camps. The North Pole and the Leisure Ice was available again, as it usually is at that time. And minor hockey, they hosted two separate tournaments on 2 different weekends through the holidays. One of those being the U9 Jamboree. And with that tournament, because of the age of the kids, it brings, the grandmas, grandpas, aunts, and uncles. And there are 2 games at the same time happening on one sheet. So the facility is super busy when that's up and running. And then we ended the holidays with the annual Family New Year's event. We had over 1,500 people attend that. Our arena user groups, minor hockey, again, they had another successful season. They had close to 450 registered players. And then, as always, along with their practices and regular league play, they hosted 7 different tournaments throughout the year. The skating club, they celebrated their 50th year in March, and they hosted a very well-attended ice show. And it's very evident. You can see the club's growth. We really noticed that this past year, and they're one of our only, they are our only ice user that has bookings year-round. Our dry floor user, Ravens Lacrosse, they also had another successful season. A highlight for them was they hosted a Father's Day tournament, which is a first for our facility and their association. Next slide. Campbell River Storm. This year we worked with the Storm's new ownership their new ownership structure and new coaching staff. The club, they continue their competitive ways. They can say that they're currently first in the VIJHL league standings. And they continue to have 700 plus fans per game every Friday evening in the facility. Our focus continues to be supporting the needs of Campbell River and Area D and their working families with our events and programming. A couple examples of this, we programmed 8-hour day camps to make it easier on working moms and dads or working parents. And we also added skating lessons during weekday mornings. We identified a need for that for parents that are at home with preschool-age children. Another approach we took with camp programming is that parents, they had the flexibility to register for not just the whole week's worth of camp, but they could register for days. So if you needed to just be in, you needed care for your kids or them in an activity on a Tuesday, you could just do that for that day on its own. And then along with School District 72, the High School Hockey Academy, they're on the ice 4 days a week this year, which is more than we've seen in the past. They have over 50 players. Again, that's the most players that they've ever had in that program. And it's a skills-based program where the players just work on skills only with no games. Next slide.
In the pool, our serving the community looked like creative solutions on weekend swim lessons. So in the past, we might have tried to have 12 to 16 swim instructors in the water on a Saturday morning, and that was the only swim lesson offering through the weekend. We know we can't pull 12 to 16 lifeguards in the water at a time anymore. So instead, we're offering 4 different options on the weekend. So Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, and Sunday afternoon, with 6 to 8 instructors in the water for each of those time slots. So we've actually expanded our number of weekend time slot offerings for swim lessons through that creative programming. And our staff identified the challenge that it would be for parents who were working right up until Christmas break, with the school ending so close to Christmas, and created some Santa's Helpers camps that ran after school hours to give parents a little bit of extra time to prepare for Christmas without having their children around. And those camps were a huge hit with families.
Over the past year, we continue to make big improvements with our communication and online engagement with the community. We have and examples of that via the Gardens Gazette, which is a newsletter that we send out to the SD students and teachers, and it's a seasonal gazette, so it highlights all the different programming that we have throughout the year that gets sent to the schools. Along with, we continued with consistent messaging to the public, allowing the community to get the most up-to-date information about the facility. You can see an example there with the adaptive deep and ortho management, a schedule change, or programming changes that we'd have. People are seeing the same messaging. And we used paid advertising and introduced social media contests to increase community awareness of important events and programs. One of those examples is the outdoor show. We had a giveaway contest, and this helped us to build awareness about the show. And by the end of December this year, we had close to 70% of our vendor space sold for 2024.
And then just a few things that we've added to the facility just to make the experience for the staff and the users that are coming to the facility just a little bit better each time. So we've added, increased our bike rack capacity outside. We have, they can sign out locks at the admin office if people don't bring locks. We've added a scooter and skateboard rack inside the facility rather than the kids having to stash them outside, because we're not letting them bring them and carry them around the building anymore. So we've got a lockup, and we have locks that they can use to lock it up. There's an increased screening process during the storm games. We have a really close partnership with the RCMP regarding any challenges we have within the facility regarding youth, in particular Friday nights. We've got security for Friday nights just because of the volume of people in the building, and it's sort of, the incidences have stopped, and I believe it's just the presence. So, we're going to keep that security on those Friday nights, and then just keep evaluating each week if we need to increase or decrease. We've got increased signage. We've had, like a lot of businesses in town, we have lots of people that come into the facility with dogs, and we have concession services, so we don't allow dogs in the building, so we've increased some signage. Our helmet policy has been implemented this year. And previous, we'd have anywhere from 3 to 6 serious injuries, and this year we've had none. Or in 2023, we've had none. And then we've added some Ron Brindamore arena netting. One of the challenges we have after the storm game is there's, a fairly lengthy cleanup, and we can't have staff in the stands with another hockey game going on. We've added a net, so that way the adult leagues have access to that arena while the staff are cleaning. And it was something that they've asked for some time, and it's been very welcomed by those groups. And then just to go over a few stats, and keep in mind that these stats compare year over year just to measure how we're doing. We are refining how the data is mined with our booking software. So our drop in attendance, what we did was we went back to the most successful year that we could find was 2018. So we're trying to compare 2022 and 2023 to 2018 and then work towards getting back to where those numbers were. Some of the challenges with the registration and programs is we've moved away from some fun activities to ensure that we're meeting the lesson requirement for the community, in particular swimming lessons, which is linked to, previously having some lifeguard shortages. So we're that campaign to increase the staffing pool that we pull from is working. And then combined yearly attendance is up from last year. And then just keep in mind, one of the items we've just recently discovered is when we mine the data, it tracks the membership and the passes that are bought, but it doesn't track each time they're used. So we're going to change that. So these numbers, instead of 34 and 33,000, should be 80,000 plus. So we are going to correct that data. So it's still comparable for the previous years, but we are going to correct it just to give the actual numbers. And then there's some stats on membership. And as you can see, for the 10 visit passes, we're back up to 218 numbers. And then, 2022 was a very successful year. And then 2023 is very comparable. And it shows the revenue component for this just shows that this is the best year we've had in revenue. 218 was the previous year, the mark or the bar, I guess you could say, and we've beat that this year. And then next, operating expenses stayed the same. Now, keep in mind that there was a few projects that we did not proceed with, knowing that Recreate is proceeding. And then trends, we continue to hire, but we are at 218 staffing numbers, based on the support from the CAO and the commission, allowing us to put on extra lifeguard courses to subsidize the lifeguard courses. We're quite happy to be back to original operating levels pre-pandemic. And then events and visitors, we continue to add events wherever we can. We have more and more businesses in town looking to sponsor and get their name at Strathcona Gardens and sponsor free skates and swims. And the attendance, we're seeing increased attendance. A lot of that, there's probably a component there that relates to that the town is growing. So it's just natural that revenue is going to grow and the attendance is going to grow with the town.
So moving into 2024, some of our key initiatives. So we'll be introducing new swim levels. So in 2023, we rolled out the Life Saving Society Learn to Swim for Life program. And throughout 2023, we've noticed that there's some gaps in between the levels. So some of the kids are getting stuck in the levels for a long period of time. So our aquatics programmer actually identified where those gaps were and created levels in between the Life Saving Society levels so that kids still have an opportunity to progress. And so we're not getting a backlog in those levels. And from there, we actually sent that information into the Life Saving Society and it may be adopted into the national program. We expect to see in 2024 the rollout of our after-school camp program using our facility bus, so the skating school bus and potentially other programs, and then also taking our participants from the facility to off-site programs. And then 2024, we hope to continue and expand our affordable programming. So an example of that is our Take a Walk Tuesdays. It's free for the public, and we have anywhere from 15 to 20 participants registering. And the type of participants that are registering are people that would not go for a walk on their own confidently in all weather. And with the support of staff, they're able to do that. So we're meeting the community where they are and improving the health of the community that way.
And just to go over a couple of capital projects that we've got on the books for 2024 outside of Recreate is we are upgrading the Arena 2 exit and automatic doors. We're going to add that will help the people using the facility, and they don't, parents are carrying multiple hockey bags at a time at times. So having the automatic doors, I think, will be a welcome addition. And then just the energy efficient upgrades. We received a FORS incentive letter for some equipment that we had planned to upgrade, so that will be actioned over 2024 and 2025. And then just, what's next? We wanted to ask, rather than just ask, do you have any questions? We wanted to ask the Strathcona Gardens Commission if they seen an opportunity or they would like us to expand or go in a different direction. We would love to have some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. I think we should start at the last question first while it's top of mind before we get into other questions, but that's just my idea. Does anyone have any comments back to staff of what we would like? Okay, I'll lead the way. So I'm a big person in developing governance, and I think it would be very handy for commissioners who are setting policy and taking direction to coordinate not just with staff in a working group, but with other facilities that you think are models that we could work towards. So we should understand other programs that are out there and how they may work in places like us with remote communities or just in a concentrated urban area. And I know we don't have maybe a lot of flexibility to develop a lot of tournament-based programs necessary with the swim club, the swims area, but it would be interesting maybe with our smaller pool design to see what other organizations of similar size pools and similar size ice rinks are doing. That's just us needing to know more about how to help you, like develop us. The other one, I was looking at that walking program. I'm really excited. I have family members who have developmental disabilities, and I'm on the Accessibility Commission. I'm wondering if we can't work with some of the organizations like Community Living and stuff to have a specialized program for people who may need to have socialization, but in a more controlled or supervised situation. And walking is excellent, I could see, as a program version potentially. And maybe there's more grant funding for that type of program too. So those are two that just came to my mind. Go ahead, everyone else. Yes, Director Grenland.
Thank you. I'd just like to say I think they're doing a wonderful job. And I know Robin and his team regularly talk with the other recreation associations and committees and stuff like that about what's going on and what's happening, and I think they do a good job of sharing, but your comments towards the accessibility stuff is very good. While I've got the floor, I'd also like to say that over the holidays, that leisure ice area, and that was decorated to the nines, very bright, very friendly. You could see people were out there and just having a ball with all the stuff that was going on there. So I was in the facility yesterday, and it's been transformed to another different ice decorations and stuff. They're doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Mr. Rice, do you have anything?
I don't have anything to add at this point. I will be having a fairly in-depth meeting with constituents in Area D. So this was one of the items that were on my agenda to talk to them about. So I'd like to get feedback from the community. Is there anything that they would like to see? So thank you.
Commissioner Kerr? I had a message that Commissioner Kerr had some audio issues at one point, so I'm not sure if he's hearing us at this point.
Ron, give us a thumbs up if you can hear us at least.
I don't think he can.
I believe he's still having difficulties with him trying to fix them on this end. Can't find what their source is.
Oh, well, he can hear us. That's some delay. Good, thanks, Ron.
Must be on satellite.
On YouTube.
So I put it out to the commissioners. Is there anything else about this expansive report other than the last question to us that they want to thank staff for? That's a great report, by the way. Is there anything else about this expansive report other than the last question?
I think we're picking up Director Kerr's, or Commissioner Kerr's mic. One thing I will mention is that the board on the commission's recommendation is in fact looking at we'll be looking at a report on the Strathcona Gardens service itself, because it is right now fairly restrictive in terms of programming. So we want to bring that back to the commission to have a look at how that could be expanded. So that's part of the discussion, I think.
Okay, well, I think that's it. We've received the report. Is there anything that's coming out of this report? Anything further that you need from us, or we're moving on to the next item? Great. Okay, so we're now at the stage where we're going to be looking at the draft financial plan for the Strathcona Gardens Commission, and I'll need a motion that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Move receipt.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. I take it we're going to get a...
Yeah, we got a presentation for you here, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. So yeah, we'll have a real brief presentation on the financial plan. We've already looked at the numbers in December, so goals for today's meetings, just to have a quick update on that, which will be kind of a focus on the assessment shift, as well as the business case effects and any 2023 spend or surplus changes. And then we're hoping to see recommendations that the Strathcona Gardens budget be forwarded to the board for approval. So the first thing we look at in January for all our budgets is kind of the effect of the assessment shift, which is largely out of the regional district's control. Again, as the two participants in this service, so as their assessment basis changes, it changes the way tax get allocated, and as well as there's an effect of the individual assessment classes from business, industrial, and everything. So how all those different assessments move together, they'll have a corresponding effect on the taxes. So for 2024, Campbell River grew at a faster pace than Area D. So we're going to see some regional shift from Area D over to Campbell River. And then for both Campbell River and Area D, their household residential components did not increase as fast as the other base. So what you're going to see is when we look at all these budgets which express things in cost per household, there's downward pressure on the tax in 2024, which is a big significant change from the prior year. So Campbell River, for example, their business assessment class increased about 7%, whereas the residential was just above zero at 0.2%. So you're going to see a shift of taxes from households to businesses. So back in January, or back in December, we brought a requisition number. We've got approval to increase for the 3 business cases, and that is the current requisition you see before you today. We also took the opportunity to adjust some of the 2023 spending estimates. So the surplus change, but we offset that against the reserve transfers in 2024 to kind of keep things stable. So the numbers you saw back in January were about $82 and $83 per home, and then the current ones are $74.16 for Campbell River and $72.87 for electoral area D. And the large majority of the shift since you last time saw the numbers was just for the relevant change in assessment basis. So overall for the year, City of Campbell River, you're looking at $433, and Area D would be about $437. Again, you can see the change there of $74.16 and $72.87. That's primarily due to the rec rate project and just getting the requisition ahead of any of the future borings for when that construction rolls out. And that was it for the presentations, but happy to field any questions.
So, Commissioners, any questions on the proposals? Okay, hearing none. We've received the report. We voted on that? No, we have to vote on. Okay, so if there's no further questions, all in favor received? Any opposed? That's carried. Now we have a follow-up because we have that the Commission recommend that the Strathcona Garden Service budget contained in the draft 2024-2028 financial plan be forwarded to the board for approval.
Move receipt.
It's
Second.
move forwarding. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Well, we're whizzing right along. We're at number 3 now. The Recreate Project Phase 1 construction and procurement status, and that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Move receipt.
Second.
And I believe Sheena will speak to this.
Thank you. Through the chair to the commission. So this report is essentially seeking your pre-authorization for the contract values for 2 key owners consultants, being the construction manager and the construction administrator. We did try to bake a bit of a status update into this report for you regarding the permitting and construction status of phase 1. So maybe I'll start with that and then go into the technicals about the contracts. So with the passing of bylaw 342, being the borrowing bylaw, we were pretty excited and started to get things underway and prepare for the tendering and construction phase of phase 1. This included submission of a building permit and a development variance permit to the City of Campbell River, who have been very collaborative and helpful, including waiving those permitting fees. The development variance permit will be submitted to Campbell River City Council this Friday, and we're hoping the building permit will happen sometime in April or March. That'd be great. We also elected to pre-qualify certain key trades, such as electrical, structural, mechanical, tile, some of those really big ticket items. The intent of pre-tendering gave us a little bit more time to really look into the backgrounds of some of those organizations and ensure that we had enough interest in the project to get competitive pricing out of them. So that is underway. It closed in December, and we're just looking through the evaluation right now. Turnout was adequate, not as much as we were hoping, but definitely adequate. So we are hoping to pre-qualify for for all but one of the disciplines that we tendered. But again, just waiting on the final results of the evaluation from our construction manager. If all goes according to plan, permits are received and the tender prices come in within our budget, we are hoping to start construction on this project this summer. So very exciting. We're very eager. So one of the key things for us to get ready, as once we tender the project, we'll have a really tight time frame to review all of the trade submissions, update the project budget, and then present it to both the commission and the board. The tight timeline is largely driven around trades only holding their prices. Typically, it's for 60 days. Through discussions with our project team, we're going to ask for a 90-day window for trades to hold their prices, noting that it's really just a procedural issue, and we're confident that trades will accept that. So within that 90-day window, as I mentioned, we're going to need to review everything, wrap it all up, make a recommendation, present it to both committees, and then issue those contracts with those trades before that 90-day deadline. One of the complexities of that is that the tendering with our current procurement plan, which is detailed in a memo attached in the report from Make Projects, is that the construction manager will do all the tendering. It will still be a transparent and competitive procurement process where we will see all of the submissions, and the recommendation on who to award will be determined jointly between the owner and the owner's consultants. And once all those prices are in and presented to the commission and the board, if they approve that pricing, that dollar value will be rolled into the contract with the construction manager. So it's essential that we have that person on board for the construction phase so that we can incorporate those contractual requirements. So our construction manager for the project for pre-construction services has been Heatherbrae Builders. They have performed more than satisfactory, and we are recommending that we continue with them for the tendering and the construction services. There's 2 parts to the contract that we will enter into them once those trace pricings are in. One is a flat fee for the general requirements, which are construction requirements that don't fall under any other trade. These are things like porta potties, fencing, snow clearing, garbage removal, and then some of the requirements of the CM, such as housing their project manager, their site superintendent in Campbell River during the project. Those for this project are estimated to be $3,057,640. That's all in for what we're anticipating is a 25-month construction duration. And then they have their construction management fee, which is 25% of the overall construction value. And that is their fee to do quality control, manage those trades, the contractual obligations they have with those trades, et cetera. So at this point in time, we're only asking you to approve those base fees, as their final construction value will not be known until we have that final tender pricing. So again, it's 2% of the construction budget, which is hard costs, and then that $3+ million for the general requirements. The other contract that we're hoping to get your approval to enter into is with our architect, who under this contract will be known as the contract administrator. So HCMA Architecture has been with the project going back to the schematic design phase. And the role of the contract administrator is essentially to ensure that the project is built as per the design. I think you can appreciate why it's important, or the value of having the architect who designed the project filling this role, instead of hiring a different architect who's not as familiar with how we got to all of the decisions that we did. So it's also important for me to note that the pricing that we received for both of these consultants was through public procurement in 2021. Contracts for this stage of the project were not awarded or contemplated at that time because funding was not secured. For HCMA, they had a 1-year clock from the completion of detailed design to enter into construction for the prices they submitted in 2021 to remain valid. As we have exceeded that duration, they did update the pricing. They provided a very competitive percentage, but I wanted to note that in their RFP, we had a 20-month construction duration, and noting that it's now 25, that is largely what governed the increase in their quote for their contract administrative services. They also oversee a team of sub-consultants who will also participate in that quality assurance process, such as the electrical and mechanical contractors who have to be on site to ensure that those components are installed correctly as well. And then Heather Bray's fees for construction management are as they submitted back in 2021, so they did, there was no time clock on those. So we feel that both fees are quite competitive. Both are below the recommended percentages for their industry, and we feel that there's a significant risk to the project if we were to try to hire different professionals to fill these roles, largely in schedule. And as we've sort of likely all experienced, time is money in this, so extending the duration does extend the cost typically. So that's what we expect will happen if we wanted to go back out to market. We'd have to go through public procurement to hire new professionals, which would delay our ability to tender, et cetera, and then jeopardize our ability to make quick, responsive decisions while the project is in construction. All of these professionals have been with the project for 3+ years, so they know the community, they know the stakeholders, they know the facility, and especially with renovation projects, there's a lot of unforeseens that can happen, and these professionals will have the history and the knowledge to react quickly and make cost-effective recommendations around those. So for that reason, we are recommending that you pre-approve the contracts. If we will not actually enter into contracts with either consultant until the construction budget is finalized and the board and the commission support that. So we see very minimal risk to gaining your support for this now. And again, the reason we did this ahead of tendering is just to streamline that tendering process. There's going to be a lot of information coming in that tight time window, and we wanted to make sure that if you did not support this approach, we knew well ahead of time, because it will require us to quite change our approach. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that report. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Grenland.
On the Recreate project, and we're looking at approving or moving forward with some things, how is the process or our financial with the government, et cetera, that was to be reviewed in December proceeding? Is there any issues with our funding process?
I don't think we have any issues with our funding. We've got our boring bylaw approval, our community assent there, so we're fine there. We still have an application in the hopper for hopefully certain grant funding that we're continuing to advocate and pursue. But at this point, we got clear line of sight.
Anything further? I'll call the question on receipt. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And now we're at the next consideration. We're going to deal with the architecture firm first, that the commission recommend that the chair and corporate officer be authorized to amend the existing contract with HCMA Architecture and Design to include contract administration for the construction of Recreate Phase 1, should the project proceed into the construction phase.
Move recommendation.
Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And for item C, that the commission recommend approving Heather Bray Builder Ltd's pricing for construction management and general requirements should the project proceed into the construction phase.
Move recommendation.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, well, that was quick. Now we have the last sort of items coming up. That the report from the Chief Administration Officer received on the Fortis BC Implementation Incentive Letter. Have a motion to receive?
Move
Move
receipt.
receipt. Second.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you through the CAO to the chair and the commissioners. We just wanted to give you a little update. We applied for a grant to Fortis BC. There were several steps. There was a process for approval to do an energy study. Then after the energy study was approved and completed, there was a review, and they've awarded us an incentive letter, which in short paid for 75%, reimbursed us for 75% of the study. There's an additional funds if we implement any of the approved items within the incentive letter, so which in turn supports 100% the funding that we put out for the energy study. One thing to note, the energy study actually did work with one of the key items here is a dehumidifier for the Rod Brindamore Arena, which is slated for an upgrade. The dehumidifier will be sized and can be transferred to the new build, but it is due for replacement, or it's a few years past due. So that is one of the items that we're going to do. It'll create some efficiencies in Arena 2. And then at the end of the day, it is going to reduce the utility costs in the facility as well. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners? Hearing none. Vote on receipt. All in favor? Any opposed? I think that's carried. So we don't have anything under bylaws, correspondence, commissioner reports. Anything from the commissioners? New business, addendum items, and now I'd be looking at a motion to move into closed session. Is that? I think we voted on receipt, did we not? Or this one? Okay. Yes, okay, so I can vote on this one, right? Eventually, okay, thanks. So a motion that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Move
I'll make that
receipt.
motion.
Okay, I think there's a seconder in there too. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And that the meeting be closed to the public in consideration matters deemed to fall within the parameters of subsection 91C, N, and O of the Community Charter. I'll need a motion.
Move recommendations.
Second.
And any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, now we're going to close session.